What's up, everybody? It's me, the Act Ma'am, and it is Ma'am. It is Ma'am. Today, another extremely unique, never seen before video where we yap a lot but say very little. Obviously, bad things bad, and big corporations are evil. Not a lot is gonna be said, but it's gonna sound pretty good, so you're gonna probably watch anyway.
Battlefield 6 released on October 10th, garnering 747,000 concurrent players on Steam. It became the best-selling game of 2025. This wasn't just the biggest Battlefield launch, but one of the biggest video game launches, shattering records with over 7 million copies sold in just 3 days.
3 days!
Whip out that calculator point.
That's impressive.
Dexter, because that's on average 27 copies sold per second. Assuming the number of sales is exactly 7.
I didn't check the math, but if anyone's gonna make a mistake, it's gonna be the Act, ma'am. But I will not check.
7 million, and that each person purchased the base edition of the game, we're looking at gross revenue of at least $490 million. And despite the game's massive otherworldly budget of $400 million, that still leaves EA with 90 million in net revenue, at least.
I don't believe it was only 400 million. Because Battlefield 6 was supposed to be the biggest, the grandest, the most everything that they have ever done before. It was supposed to outperform every Battlefield, and their expectations for sales were honestly even bigger than that. What did they say? The original number that they themselves claim that they need to sell is ridiculous. It was like 20 million copies or something like that. But granted, do remember that I did actually do the math for their sales, and months ago, they most likely already broke easily even. And that's with the 400 million budget. That is lies. It's more likely close to 500, 600, or maybe even 700 million. All these companies always lie about budgets because, believe it or not, for some stupid reason, there is literally no law that makes you that holds you liable for lying about a budget for these things. At least in America. There is some stuff in Britain about this, but if it's an American, Canadian, or whatever game, they're gonna lie about the budget.
Even more impressive, Battlefield 6 is one of only 4 games released since 2009 that outsold Call of Duty in its respective year. And out of these 4, Battlefield 6 is the only title to successfully beat Call of Duty in its own genre. Fuck you! By all metrics, Battlefield 6 was a massive success. So you would think only a fool could squander such a golden opportunity. Have you met my friend, Electronic Arts? Folks, I hate to say it, Battlefield 6 has fallen off. At least by the outrageous standards it set.
I remember a month ago we talked about Battlefield slowly falling off, and it had something like 6% player base remaining from the all-time peak. Which is actually not still that bad considering it's Battlefield.
The game is currently hovering around 50,000 daily active users on Steam. Judging purely by the numbers, Battlefield 6 has had an overall player retention rate of just 6.7%.
Why does everyone laugh when I say that?
And yeah, obsessing over Steam chart numbers never gives the full picture, but this is why I asked if the hype was real for Battlefield 6, because although I found it pretty enjoyable, there was...
The Battlefield 6 got actually so much extra hype and marketing around it just because of one cat cheater. Oh, damn. Remember that one? Wow, that was a wild one. Some people still are stupid enough to believe that there is no cheating there.
Something missing. It's why I called it a confusing success, because despite all the issues...
Also, the Act Man was one of the people who instantaneously, obviously, sprung to action. Tips Fedora Milady. Milady, get it? Because it's not. Oh, man, it was wild.
Sometimes you just can't argue with the numbers or the results. I had a ton of fun with this game. Recently played a few matches, but didn't really want to play anymore. It felt like a bright flame that went out too fast. And player drop-off happens with most games that break into the mainstream this hard. Just look at Pal World. Speaking of, where are we at in the Pokemon ripoff saga? Pikmin? Okay, yeah, this is just Breath of the Wild Pokemon. But here's the question of the day. Why did Battlefield 6 fall off? It's undeniable it has. Was its fate predetermined, written in the Elder Scrolls? Could this have been avoided? Or perhaps does Occam's razor slice true once more? Battlefield 6 did not and still doesn't have enough content or a robust live service to maintain that casual player base it first attracted. But that's the TLDR version, the simplest answer. The truth is more complicated, and a better question to ask.
I honestly don't even know what people really find about Battlefield. It's just a quick-paced action shooter where all the best clips of the best performances are always someone just shooting people from behind.
Might be, how the fuck does the studio who made the best-selling game of last year get hit with layoffs?
The oldest reason in the world.
I'm honestly, I'm just tired, boss. I'm just so tired. The Act Man, Young, yeah, Alana Pierce, the typical suspects, you know? I'm just so tired of them not understanding how the world fucking works. You know what? It's one thing when people who are literally born in families with generational wealth and 5 trust funds. Yes, the typical millionaire gets 1 trust fund, they get 5, and they are completely out of touch with the world. You know, they go on to do their communist LARP on Twitter and shit, while buying designer clothes that are more worth than houses for some stupid reason, because it's all a money laundering scheme at the end of the day anyway. Those people I can understand being out of touch and stupid. But when it comes to the average, the average, oh, I made it on YouTube somehow, but other than that, I literally have nothing going in my life. You know, the Actmans, the Youngs, the Alanas, these people that would typically be screwing up your McDonald's drive-thru orders on a Tuesday. They couldn't even handle a drive-thru order. But for some reason, they somehow just lucked the fuck out and got these audiences of literally, in some cases, even hundreds of thousands of people watching them. And they don't understand anything about the world. Oh, you made a successful game? This is, again, Young, Alana, all of these people have said the same stupid take that the Act Man now is going to say. Oh, makes a successful game and you still fire the people who made... Yes, that's how jobs work. That's how industries work. Act Man, please. Have you ever hired a plumber, electrician, or something like that? Oh, you have? Well, why aren't you paying them a monthly salary after they finish the job? I mean, they finished the job, but does that mean they deserve to be jobless because of how they... Like, stuff like this. It's like, yeah, you made a game. The game is made. You no longer need that many people working on it. These people are now going to either get moved to different projects or fired. That's how this works. We all know how this works. But these people, for some reason, can't figure it out. Every month they complain about the same thing. Oh, successful game, but they fired people? How is this possible? It's possible because that's how life works. If it didn't work like that, then we would be probably in massive problems, in fact.
Money.
All these questions and more will be answered. But before we jump into it, have a look at my wares. Some call this
Yeah, that's an ad.
Video.
And now for something completely different.
I've seen many comments calling Battlefield 6 a rug pull. They call him Mr. Bait and Switch. Many were led to believe that lessons had been learned from 2042.
By the 9 divines.
It felt like DICE had looked back at 2042 and said to us,
that was something, right?
DICE and EA definitely wanted to give off this impression that BF6 would be a return to form for the series and the modern military shooter. No, we're not putting any of those Fortnite skins in our game. We're going for grounded realism. That's what we're all about here. So we have this new skin for sale. I know it's been 2 weeks since the game came out, but we gotta make money.
Yep, they were gonna do it. Anyone who believed that this is not gonna happen, I don't know what to tell you.
Somehow, during the beta, many fans also noticed how small the maps were. A lot of fans voiced their concerns, so many that DICE actually responded and assured us that the full game would have much larger maps. This was just a small slice. You know, we chose the smallest map so we could get better data in the beta. But then the game came out, and it seemed players were right to be skeptical. Map design left a lot to be desired compared to previous entries, with the biggest problems being their very compact size, how little breathing room there was. A lot of the maps are too symmetrical and don't really fulfill any particular fantasy or war scenario. You pick any map from Battlefield 1, and I think it stands above the selection here. Look at Monte Grappa, where you're storming a mountain or defending it. Mountain warfare, that's the fantasy. Now, the newest map, Contaminated, is solid, but this game still feels like it's missing that X factor, that secret spice. You know, Battlefield 4 had insane levolution and destructibility. Battlefield 1 and 5 had big operations fighting over battle lines, with giant behemoth vehicles that you could not ignore. And even 2042 had its 128 player count to distinguish it from the other games. It's as if the devs felt that having some quiet or slow areas might be too boring for the Call of Duty fans they were trying to appeal to.
I mean, technically I'm talking a lie. I would say that's probably true.
And I think that is reason number one the game fell off. It tried too hard to cater to Battlefield fans. I meant to say Call of Duty fans, but I have permanent and irreversible brain damage. Well, that's the second reason. First one's content and map design. It seems that RedSec was meant to be the X factor, but a battle royale mode, just the design of it, has very little to do with Battlefield's core identity. You know, you got two massive armies just smashing each other for control of land. You know, it's a tactical squad-based war.
I mean, I don't exactly want a lot more.
Game. You know, it's not a scavenger hunt for supplies and resources. So
one of the big fallacies I feel when it comes to games like Battlefield is the fact that some people demand that these games have objectives, grinds, things like that. The reality is, these games are best when there's no real objective. Again, I think one of the reasons Arc Raiders has survived so long is because it doesn't have objectives. Sure, it has some quests that your boy literally has ignored half of them. It is what it is. But in general, I think Arc Raiders did survive because it does have this lack of objectives. It's a punishing game where you can easily get punished. And it's like you pick what you want to do. That's just how it is. And sometimes while you're doing the thing that you want to do, or you're just randomly running around, you get swept up into something. And that's, I think, what makes the game great. In games like Battlefield, Call of Duty, or whatnot, I think the developers are trying too hard to give grinds, unlocks, and things like that for people.
RedSec was clearly envisioned as a competitor to Call of Duty's Warzone. And here's where we start to see the main problem. Battlefield 6 tried to compete with Call of Duty on every front.
I think the main problem of these games is honestly the fact that they try to appeal to a crowd of women and make the games for women in a lot of cases. You know, a super minority player base that never actually is worth the effort. Look at World of Warcraft, they did it. Their numbers are plummeting down constantly because, yeah, they got some women to play it, but at what cost, honestly? And this is the same here. You have female operatives and things like that. Not a lot of people like it.
Multiplayer, PvE, and Battle Royale. The thing is, they were successful. They actually stole the COD audience who came for the multiplayer. And all you should have done is hook them on what makes Battlefield special. You see, that's what all those people bought the game for, was the core multiplayer. Instead, for whatever reason, RedSec was given priority, and it took away resources and time that might have been better spent on improving the core multiplayer. They also tied RedSec to weekly challenges, which made people feel like EA was pushing fans away from the style of Battlefield game that they
Oh yeah, whenever you're playing a game and that game has the primary thing of do X, and a company forces you by adding weekly and daily quests and things like that to a different part of the game, that always fails.
wanted to play in favor of this shiny new battle royale. I think the fast-paced close quarters combat drew in many people, but it wasn't the complete package of what hardcore Battlefield fans wanted, which realistically is just a spiritual successor to Battlefield 4. Now, when it comes to Portal, EA had promised that this mode would be a chill place for players to grind XP against bots with access to the full progression trees. But there's too many bot farms, so you all suffer reduced XP gains now. Also, don't you dare try to recreate maps from other FPS games and play them in ours. Who do you think we are, Valve? Portal is an ambitious feature, sure, but as far as I'm aware, the quality of it has only been nerfed since launch. And that's the opposite of what you expect from a game that's trying to be a live service. No part of Battlefield 6 really feels like it has improved since I last played it. Granted, it's still like, it's not a bad game. I think it's great. But I do feel like my expectations were not met, especially compared to how other live service games are being handled. Like, Arc Raiders came out around the same time and has a much more consistent player base. Even Helldivers 2 is still going strong with all the updates and content. And it certainly doesn't help when EA has to delay Season 2 content. It just seems like EA's strategy revolved around stealing or siphoning off as much of COD's audience as possible, a fan base who has been pretty disgruntled with recent games and looking for something new. Then, when they succeeded, EA was like, all right, well, let's just give them more COD. No, they came for Battlefield. This game had to destroy Call of Duty, and it seems EA bit off more than they could chew. Battlefield 6 is the victim of unrealistic expectations.
All that he said, by the way, is complete Google-y muck.
And an unhealthy amount of investment. The budget ballooned to over $400 million. Like, to put into perspective how ridiculous that is, there are only 5 movies in existence that have ever had a higher budget.
All of this is lies, by the way. Again, my favorite example is exactly movies, because all of them lie. All the new Star Wars movies have had a budget of $1 billion minimum. It's fucking crazy.
Like, this is just stupid. Why would you put that much money in? How do you put...
And how do we know this? Because sometimes these movies are made in Britain, and Britain does the release of the budgets, and then we know that they always lie, and the budget is actually X2 or 3 sometimes. This is how we know.
Put that much money in. Regardless, we're not in control of these decisions. And if you're a corporate guy who's funding this and putting this much money in, you expect to get a return. Now, what were EA's goals again? EA reportedly expects Battlefield 6 to have 100 million players.
Yeah.
That was hilarious.
You high right now? What?
It's Dr. Evil numbers.
$100 billion.
Dude, Mr. Beast doesn't even get 100 million views on each one of his videos. Like, what? You're talking
Almost, though.
Insane number.
By the way, still, does anyone know anyone who watches Mr. Beast videos? Anyone?
Now, here's the thing. Their game plan could have worked. We're making a faster Battlefield. You see, you can have a faster Battlefield game with a vibrant PvE mode, a solid campaign, and a battle royale. I don't think...
Yeah, this is what I call a solid campaign. Bombing, yelling on your ass for some reason. Oh boy, that is listen, from 1 to solid, that is in fact the most solidest thing ever. Okay? That's what I love about my campaigns, boys.
and a battle royale. I don't think the strategy is the problem, but it's like the motivations behind it. You have to start from your base. If you want to branch out and appeal to Call of Duty fans, then you at least got to give the core fans that experience they're hoping for. Here's the thing, expecting 100 million players is so unrealistic. What does that do to the devs?
You better make this much money. It's a completely absurd amount. It's 3 times higher than the best-selling game in the franchise, but you've got to do triple.
Now, despite all of the criticisms of Battlefield 6, like, it still has a very solid player base. Look, if you're not happy with 50,000 people like playing your game at the same time, I feel like any developer would be happy with 50,000 people playing their game like 6 months after release. And with the right updates and content, maybe a shift in focus, I bet loads of people would come back to this game, and it could easily stabilize with a player count of 6 digits. So what is EA's latest game plan to strengthen Battlefield 6? Surely there's some massive new content update in the works. Battlefield 6 was the biggest launch in franchise history. 6 months later, EA is laying off the people who made it. What's that? Layoffs? Don't talk about layoffs? You kidding me? Layoffs? I must have had something in my ears. Come again, Noble One. Did you say layoffs?
You heard that correctly.
EA has confirmed that an unknown number of employees have been laid off from the studios that made the game, including Criterion, DICE, Ripple
Oh, the horror.
Effect, and Motive. Battlefield 6 more like slaughter.
By the way, that's also probably just companies that did freelance work for them, chances are.
House 6, Jesus. So clearly there's like no way to justify this or spin it in a good light. And this is the funny part where we have—
There is none if your whole life is literally governed by vibes and you have never had to actually, you know, think for even a split second.
have to read exactly that corporate statement. Here is EA's official statement. We've made select changes within our Battlefield organization to better align our teams around what matters most to our community. I can't even do that with a straight face. We're doing these layoffs for you guys. This will better align our fans in our community, because one of the biggest complaints was the lack of content, and by getting rid of people, we'll be able to make content faster. Just so we're clear, crystal clear as Walter White's meth. You're laying off people from the teams that released the best-selling game of 2025 to better serve the community that made it the best-selling game of 2025.
What?
But you haven't been serving the community already. What? It's not even worth.
I mean, if you haven't been, this is also the paradox here, okay? But the game is not actually serving the community. So why are you actually mad that these people are getting fired? So you in your own opinion, there's a bunch of developers that currently have absolutely no positive impact on the game, and you're like, oh no, don't hire these people that ruin the game. This is also unironically the opinion that these people hold at the same time. Firing these people is bad, but these people are bad for the game because they don't really do anything too useful for the game and make it better. So what's the win situation here exactly? There is none. I don't see it.
Pointing out the stupidity of the statement. It's the action itself. Like, Battlefield 6 got the gold medal. Is there anything better in a game industry than, like, best-selling game of the year? Imagine Bill Belichick going up to Tom Brady after the end of the 2007 season where they went 16-0, and he's like, yeah, Tom, it's just not working out. What? But I threw 50 touchdowns this season. Yeah, but you didn't throw 51 now, did you? And we lost that Super Bowl. I mean, would you mind cleaning?
But that does happen, you idiot. This is exactly what happens in real life. Now, granted, it's not going to be the star Tom. I have no idea about American football, obviously. I'm not American. Yeah, I know, you couldn't tell probably. Shocker. Anyway, this is what happens. If that team with Tom Brady does not win, yeah, sure, Tom Brady's not going to get fired, but Tom Brady may actually move to a better team. Maybe, who honestly knows? Probably a thing that happens. And you know what's going to happen? Some of the worst performing players on that team are going to get axed and potentially be replaced with other people that are doing a better job. This is how things work in the real life. How do these people not understand these very basic concepts of real life? I do not know, honestly.
Out your locker. That's just crazy, man. Again, if you run the numbers over the first 3 days of its launch, Battlefield 6 was literally making $347 per second. Net revenue,
Elon Musk makes more than that.
not gross. I mean, who knows how much money they would have made by the time this sentence ends, right? Maybe a few $1,000s. I'm not happy with that. I didn't make enough money. Game doesn't sell, layoffs. Game does sell, layoffs. We lay them off and then we hire new people to make the sequel. Your team is
Yes.
not efficient, layoffs right away. Straight to layoffs. Your team is too efficient, believe it or not, also layoffs. I really am getting tired of
Again, in my mind, all of that makes perfect sense. But then again, I have had a real job, a career even, before I did YouTube. So there you go. Maybe I'm the strange one here.
this disgusting trend of treating like such highly talented people as disposable.
Oh, this guy who fucking literally killed Overwatch and then decided to blame everyone else. I did a video about this. This guy is the one that literally destroyed Overwatch. He made it from a multi-$100 million fucking esport into something that's barely worth a shit with sparkles. And then he blamed everyone else because he decided to make it bad. Oh boy.
Disposable pawns, right? It's like all of my favorite studios and the games that they produced, they've all been eviscerated by corporate greed and layoffs and all the upper leadership leaving, to the point where companies like Blizzard, DICE, Bungie aren't really recognizable to me anymore, or at least I don't feel like the company culture is the same. I mean, it's like layoffs are supposed to happen when a company isn't profitable, right? Or a product
Yeah, anyway, the Actman has absolutely no clue how real life functions. Shocking, I know, Nepo babies. Well, he's not technically a Nepo baby, but you know what? He's a Nepo baby. It is what it is. Anyway, that was the Actman. 10 out of 10. Bye.